Question 1. Personal auto policy PAP scenario. Mr. Davis was involved in an accident where his car collided with another vehicle. Mr. Davis's personal auto policy PAP includes comprehensive coverage but not collision coverage. The other vehicle's driver was at fault and Mr. Davis's car sustained damage from the impact and also had some vandalism done to it while it was parked overnight. What coverage would Mr. Davis's policy provide for the damages sustained? Options: A. Coverage for damage to Mr. Davis's car due to vandalism. B. Coverage for the damage to Mr. Davis's car resulting from the collision. C. Coverage for the other driver's vehicle damage. D. Coverage for Mr. Davis's medical expenses due to the accident. Correct answer: A. Coverage for damage to Mr. Davis's car due to vandalism. Explanation: in a personal auto policy, PAP comprehensive coverage provides protection against damages to a vehicle not caused by collision, such as vandalism. Since Mr. Davis's policy includes comprehensive coverage, it will cover the damage due to vandalism. Collision coverage would be required for damages resulting from the collision itself, but Mr. Davis's policy does not include this coverage. The damage to the other driver's vehicle is covered under Mr. Davis's liability coverage, and his medical expenses are covered under medical payments or personal injury protection if included in his policy. Question 2. Homeowners insurance question. Which of the following perils is typically not covered under a standard HO3 homeowners policy? Options: A. Fire and smoke damage. B. Theft. C. Flood damage. D. Windstorm damage. Correct answer: C. Flood damage. Explanation: the standard HO3 homeowners policy provides coverage on an open peril basis for the dwelling and other structures, which includes risks such as fire, theft, and windstorm damage. However, flood damage is not covered under a standard homeowners policy. Flood insurance is generally obtained through a separate national flood insurance program, NFIP policy, or private flood insurance. It's crucial for homeowners in flood-prone areas to obtain additional flood insurance to protect against this specific risk. Question 3. Dwelling policy DP scenario. MS. Thompson owns a rental property and has a dwelling policy DP2. The property suffered significant damage due to a burst pipe during an unusually cold winter. The policy includes coverage for the dwelling, but MS. Thompson is concerned about whether the damages to her tenant's personal belongings are covered. What should MS. Thompson know about her DP2 policy in relation to her tenant's personal property? Options: A. The DP2 policy will cover damages to the tenant's personal property as it includes coverage for personal property. B. The DP2 policy will not cover the tenant's personal property. A separate renter's insurance policy is needed. C. The DP2 policy includes coverage for the tenant's personal property under the fair rental value provision. D. The DP2 policy will cover the tenant's personal property only if the damage is caused by a fire. Correct answer: B. The DP2 policy will not cover the tenant's personal property. A separate renter's insurance policy is needed. Explanation: a through dwelling policy is designed to cover the physical structure of the property and may include protection against certain perils such as fire and burst pipes. However, it does not extend coverage to the tenant's personal belongings. Tenants typically need to obtain their own renter's insurance policy to cover their personal property against losses from covered perils. This policy also provides liability protection for tenants, which is not included under the dwelling policy held by the property owner. Question 4. Personal umbrella policy question. Which of the following statements accurately describes a key feature of a personal umbrella policy? Options: A. It provides coverage for damage to personal property on an actual cash value basis. B. It only covers claims that exceed the limits of underlying primary policies, such as auto or homeowners insurance. C. It includes coverage for business-related liabilities that are not covered under standard business liability policies. D. It provides primary coverage for losses arising from cyber risks. Correct answer: B. It only covers claims that exceed the limits of underlying primary policies, such as auto or homeowners insurance. Explanation: a personal umbrella policy is designed to provide additional liability coverage beyond the limits of the underlying primary policies, such as auto and homeowners insurance. It kicks in when the liability limits of these primary policies have been exhausted. It does not cover personal property or business-related liabilities not included in the primary policies and generally does not cover cyber risks, which would require separate coverage. The umbrella policy enhances protection against large claims or lawsuits that exceed the limits of the underlying coverage. Question 5. Inland marine insurance scenario. Mr. and Mrs. Clark own valuable jewelry and antiques that they frequently take with them when traveling. They are considering adding an inland marine insurance policy to cover these items. Which of the following best describes the primary benefit of an inland marine insurance policy for their situation? Options: A. It provides coverage for loss or damage to property while it is in transit or away from the insured's primary residence. B. It offers protection for damages caused by earthquakes, which are not covered by standard homeowners insurance. C. It covers loss or damage to the home itself, including any attached structures. D. It provides coverage for personal liability claims related to the insured's property. Correct answer: A. It provides coverage for loss or damage to property while it is in transit or away from the insured's primary residence. Explanation: Inland marine insurance is specifically designed to cover valuable personal property, such as jewelry and antiques, that is in transit or away from the insured's primary residence. This type of insurance is ideal for items that are frequently moved or exposed to risks outside the home. It does not cover earthquake damage or provide liability coverage for property-related claims, which are addressed under different types of policies. For comprehensive protection of their valuable items while traveling, inland marine insurance offers tailored coverage that would be beneficial for Mr. and Mrs. Clark. Question 6. Personal auto policy PAP question. A personal auto policy PAP includes a provision for duties after an accident or loss. Which of the following actions is specifically required by the policy after an accident? Options: A. The insured must file a police report regardless of the extent of the damage. B. The insured must provide the insurance company with a detailed list of damaged personal property. C. The insured must notify the insurance company of the accident promptly and cooperate in the investigation. D. The insured must seek medical treatment immediately, even if not injured. Correct answer: C. The insured must notify the insurance company of the accident promptly and cooperate in the investigation. Explanation: Under a personal auto policy, the duties after an accident or loss provision requires the insured to promptly notify the insurance company of the accident and cooperate in any investigation. This includes providing necessary information and documentation related to the incident. Filing a police report or seeking medical treatment, while important, are not explicitly required by the policy, although they may be advisable actions. Providing a detailed list of damaged personal property is more relevant to homeowners or renters insurance, not the auto policy. Question 7. Homeowners insurance question. In a standard HO3 homeowners policy, which of the following is typically considered an additional coverage that is automatically included without requiring a separate endorsement? Options: A. Coverage for damage caused by earthquakes. B. Coverage for loss of use, additional living expenses. C. Coverage for personal property in a flood zone. D. Coverage for business property located off premises. Correct answer: B. Coverage for loss of use, additional living expenses. Explanation: The HO3 homeowners policy automatically includes coverage for loss of use, which provides additional living expenses if the insured home becomes uninhabitable due to a covered peril. This is considered an additional coverage and does not require a separate endorsement. Coverage for earthquakes, flood zones, or business property off premises typically requires separate endorsements or policies. Question 8. Dwelling policy DP scenario. Mr. Lewis owns a rental property covered under EUN Basic Dwelling Policy. During a severe storm, a tree fell on the rental property, causing significant damage. Which of the following coverages will Mr. Lewis's DP1 policy provide for this situation? Options: A. Coverage for the cost to remove the fallen tree. B. Coverage for the loss of rental income due to the damage. C. Coverage for the damage to the dwelling structure caused by the tree. D. Coverage for any personal property of the tenant affected by the storm. Correct answer: C. Coverage for the damage to the dwelling structure caused by the tree. Explanation: EUN Basic Dwelling Policy typically covers damage to the dwelling structure caused by perils specified in the policy, which usually includes windstorms but not necessarily tree removal or loss of rental income. Coverage for personal property belonging to tenants is not included under the DP1 policy. The tenants need their own renter's insurance for such protection. The policy does not cover loss of rental income unless it is a ETO or DP3 policy with that specific endorsement. Question 9. Personal umbrella policy question. Which of the following is a common exclusion found in most personal umbrella policies? Options: A. Liability arising from automobile accidents. B. Liability for injuries occurring on the insured's own property. C. Liability arising from business activities. D. Liability for defamation or slander. Correct answer: C. Liability arising from business activities. Explanation: personal umbrella policies commonly exclude liability arising from business activities. This type of policy is designed to provide extra liability coverage over and above the limits of primary policies for personal risks, not business-related risks. Coverage for liability arising from business activities would typically require a separate business insurance policy. Liability for injuries occurring on the insured's property, defamation, or automobile accidents when the underlying auto policy limits are exceeded are generally covered. Question 10. Flood insurance scenario. Mrs. Johnson lives in a coastal area and is considering purchasing a flood insurance policy through the National Flood Insurance Program and FIP. Which of the following would be covered under her flood insurance policy? Options: A. Damage to the property caused by a hurricane. B. Damage to personal property due to sewer backup. C. Damage to the home's foundation caused by rising floodwaters. D. Damage to personal property caused by an earthquake. Correct answer: C. Damage to the home's foundation caused by rising floodwaters. Explanation: flood insurance through the NFIP covers damage to the home's structure, including the foundation, caused by rising floodwaters. It does not cover damage from hurricanes or earthquakes. Damage due to sewer backup is not covered unless specifically included by an additional endorsement. Flood insurance is designed to address risks related to flooding, which includes damage to the home and personal property from floodwaters. Question 11. Personal auto policy PAP question. If an insured's personal auto policy PAP includes uninsured motorist coverage and the insured is involved in an accident with an uninsured driver, which of the following situations would typically be covered under the uninsured motorist coverage? Options: A. Damage to the insured's vehicle from the accident. B. Medical expenses for the insured and passengers injured in the accident. C. Property damage to the uninsured driver's vehicle. D. Damage to the insured's vehicle caused by a hit-and-run driver. Correct answer: B. Medical expenses for the insured and passengers injured in the accident. Explanation: uninsured motorist coverage is designed to protect the insured for bodily injury caused by an uninsured driver or a hit-and-run driver. This coverage includes medical expenses for the insured and passengers injured in the accident. It does not cover damage to the insured's vehicle, which would be covered under collision coverage, property damage to the uninsured driver's vehicle, or damage caused by a hit-and-run driver, unless specified under the policy's terms. Question 12. Homeowners insurance scenario. The Smiths are reviewing their HO5 comprehensive homeowners policy. They are concerned about coverage for accidental damage to their hardwood floors caused by a burst pipe. How would their policy typically address this issue? Options: A. The policy will not cover accidental damage to hardwood floors unless a specific endorsement is added. B. The policy will cover accidental damage to hardwood floors as part of its open peril coverage. C. The policy will only cover damage to the hardwood floors if it was due to a fire. D. The policy will cover damage to hardwood floors but only on an actual cash value basis. Correct answer: B. The policy will cover accidental damage to hardwood floors as part of its open peril coverage. Explanation: an HO5 comprehensive homeowners policy provides coverage on an open peril basis for personal property, which means it covers all perils except those specifically excluded. This includes accidental damage to hardwood floors caused by a burst pipe as long as it is not excluded by the policy. Coverage under HO5 is broader compared to other policies like HO3, and it typically covers damage to personal property and the dwelling itself. Question 13. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following scenarios would be covered under a E3 special dwelling policy? Options: A. Vandalism and malicious mischief. B. Damage caused by an earthquake. C. Damage to the property caused by a flood. D. Theft of personal property from the dwelling. Correct answer: A. Vandalism and malicious mischief. Explanation: the DEPA 3 special dwelling policy provides coverage on an open peril basis for the dwelling and other structures, including perils like vandalism and malicious mischief. This policy covers all perils except those specifically excluded. It does not cover earthquakes or floods, which require separate endorsements or policies, nor does it generally cover theft of personal property unless added by endorsement. Question 14. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. Adams is reviewing his personal umbrella policy and wants to understand the extent of coverage provided. He has questions about whether his umbrella policy will cover legal costs associated with a lawsuit for defamation of character. What should Mr. Adams know? Options: A. Defamation claims are automatically covered under all personal umbrella policies. B. Defamation claims are covered only if the underlying primary policy includes coverage for such claims. C. Defamation claims are never covered under personal umbrella policies. D. Defamation claims are covered only if the lawsuit is related to business activities. Correct answer: B. Defamation claims are covered only if the underlying primary policy includes coverage for such claims. Explanation: Personal umbrella policies generally provide coverage for a wide range of liability claims, including defamation, but only if the underlying primary liability policies cover such claims. If the primary policies, e.g., homeowners or auto liability, do not cover defamation, the umbrella policy will not extend coverage for it. It's important for Mr. Adams to review his underlying policies to ensure that they include coverage for defamation if he wishes the umbrella policy to cover it. Question 15. Flood insurance question. Mrs. Williams's home is located in a high-risk flood zone. She is considering increasing her flood insurance coverage through the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP). Which of the following options is available to her for increased coverage? Options: A. Adding a policy endorsement for sewer backup coverage. B. Increasing the coverage limit for building property through the NFIP. C. Adding coverage for personal property located outside the home. D. Increasing the deductible for flood insurance claims. Correct answer: B. Increasing the coverage limit for building property through the NFIP. Explanation: Under the NFIP, policyholders can increase their coverage limits for building property, which includes the structure and its essential systems. Coverage for personal property can also be increased through a separate contents coverage policy, adding an endorsement for sewer backup, or increasing the deductible, are not options available through NFIP standard flood policies. Sewer backup and other specific coverages typically require additional policies or endorsements outside the NFIP framework. Question 16. Personal auto policy PAP question. Under personal auto policy PAP, if an insured's vehicle is stolen and later recovered with substantial damage, which of the following coverages would typically apply to repair the vehicle? Options: A. Liability coverage. B. Comprehensive coverage. C. Medical payments coverage. D. Uninsured motorist coverage. Correct answer: B. Comprehensive coverage. Explanation: Comprehensive coverage under a personal auto policy covers loss or damage to a vehicle due to theft, vandalism, or other non-collision related incidents. Since the vehicle was stolen and later recovered with damage, comprehensive coverage would apply to repair the vehicle. Liability coverage applies to damages caused to others by the insured. Medical payments coverage covers medical expenses for injuries, and uninsured motorist coverage provides protection when the insured is involved in an accident with an uninsured driver, none of which cover vehicle theft or damage from theft. Question 17. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson's home is insured under an HO3 homeowners policy. During a heavy snowfall, the roof of their house collapses due to the weight of the snow. What type of coverage will help them with the cost of repairing the roof? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Personal property coverage. C. Loss of use coverage. D. Liability coverage. Correct answer: A. Dwelling coverage. Explanation: Dwelling coverage under an HO3 homeowners policy provides protection for the physical structure of the home, including repairs needed due to damage from covered perils such as the weight of snow. Personal property coverage protects belongings inside the home. Loss of use coverage provides for additional living expenses if the home is uninhabitable, and liability coverage addresses claims for injury or property damage to others, but none of these would cover repairs to the home structure caused by snow. Question 18. Dwelling policy DP question. A E2 broad form dwelling policy includes extended coverage perils. Which of the following perils is typically covered under this extended coverage? Options: A. Theft. B. Earthquake. C. Flood. D. Windstorm. Correct answer: D. Windstorm. Explanation: A Year 2 Abroad form dwelling policy covers a broader range of perils than the Deeper 1 basic form, including those listed in the extended coverage perils. Windstorm is one of the perils covered under the extended coverage. Theft, earthquake, and flood are generally not covered by the Deeper 2 policy unless specifically endorsed. Earthquake and flood coverage require separate policies or endorsements. Question 19. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mrs. Johnson is concerned about her potential liability in case of a large lawsuit. She holds a personal umbrella policy with a self-insured retention amount. How does this self-insured retention affect her coverage? Options: A. It is the amount Mrs. Johnson must pay out of pocket before the umbrella policy provides coverage. B. It is the maximum amount that the umbrella policy will pay for any single claim. C. It is the amount that the umbrella policy will pay above the limits of her primary policies. D. It is the amount Mrs. Johnson must pay in addition to her primary policy limits for each claim. Correct answer: A. It is the amount Mrs. Johnson must pay out of pocket before the umbrella policy provides coverage. Explanation: self-insured retention, sir, is the amount that the insured must pay out of pocket before the personal umbrella policy begins to cover additional claims. It is essentially a deductible for the umbrella policy, and coverage kicks in only after the SIR has been met. The umbrella policy will then provide additional coverage beyond the limits of the primary policies. It does not represent the maximum payout or amount added to primary policy limits, but rather the threshold the insured must reach before the umbrella policy applies. Question 20. Flood insurance question. In the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which of the following would generally be considered an exclusion from flood insurance coverage? Options: A. Damage to personal property caused by floodwaters. B. Damage to a vehicle that is parked in a garage during a flood. C. Damage to landscaping and outdoor property like fences and swimming pools. D. Damage to the foundation of a home caused by flooding. Correct answer: C. Damage to landscaping and outdoor property like fences and swimming pools. Explanation: flood insurance through the NFIP typically covers damage to the building structure and personal property due to floodwaters. However, it generally excludes coverage for damage to landscaping, fences, swimming pools, and other outdoor property. Damage to the foundation of the home caused by flooding is covered under building property coverage, and vehicles parked in a garage are not covered under flood insurance but may be covered under other types of auto or comprehensive. Question 21. Personal auto policy PAP question. Which of the following scenarios would be covered under the personal auto policy PAP for the coverage for damage to your auto? Options: A. The insured's car is damaged in a hit-and-run accident with no identifiable responsible party. B. The insured's car is vandalized while parked in a public lot. C. The insured's car is damaged in an accident caused by a friend who was driving with permission. D. The insured's car is damaged by an earthquake. Correct answer: B. The insured's car is vandalized while parked in a public lot. Explanation: coverage for damage to your auto, also known as comprehensive coverage, covers damage to the insured's vehicle from non-collision events such as vandalism, theft, or natural disasters, excluding earthquakes. In the scenario where the car is vandalized, comprehensive coverage applies. Damage caused by an earthquake would require separate earthquake insurance, while damage from a hit-and-run would be covered under uninsured motorist property damage if applicable. Coverage for damage caused by a friend is addressed under collision coverage, provided the friend had permission to drive. Question 22. Homeowners insurance scenario. The Addams family's home insurance policy includes personal liability coverage. If a guest is injured on their property due to a faulty stair railing, which coverage would likely apply? Options: A. Medical payments coverage. B. Loss of use coverage. C. Dwelling coverage. D. Personal liability coverage. Correct answer: D. Personal liability coverage. Explanation: personal liability coverage in a homeowner's insurance policy provides protection against claims for bodily injury or property damage that occurs on the insured's property. If a guest is injured due to a faulty stair railing, personal liability coverage would apply to cover legal costs and potential settlements. Medical payments coverage would apply to medical expenses of the guest, but not to legal costs or damages. Dwelling coverage pertains to the home's structure, and loss of use coverage addresses additional living expenses if the home becomes uninhabitable. Question 23. Dwelling policy DP question. Under the basic dwelling policy, which peril is covered as an extended coverage peril? Options: A. Explosion. B. Flood. C. Earthquake. D. Theft. Correct answer: A. Explosion. Explanation: EUN basic dwelling policy covers only a limited set of perils, including fire, lightning, and internal explosion. The extended coverage perils available with the Deep One policy include additional risks such as explosion, windstorm, hail, and civil commotion. Coverage for flood, earthquake, and theft generally requires separate endorsements or policies as they are not included in the Deep One basic form. Question 24. Personal umbrella policy scenario, MS. Clark has a personal umbrella policy with a $1 million limit and the $250,000 self-insured retention. If MS. Clark is sued for $500,000 and her primary auto and homeowners insurance policies cover $250,000. How much would her umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $250,000. B. $500,000. C. $750,000. D. $1 million. Correct answer: A. $250,000. Explanation: with a $250,000 self-insured retention, MS. Clark must pay this amount out of pocket before her personal umbrella policy provides coverage. Since her primary policies cover $250,000, her umbrella policy would cover the remaining amount up to its limit. In this case, the umbrella policy would cover $250,000, $500,000, $250,000 of the $500,000 lawsuit subject to its maximum limit. The total coverage would not exceed the $1 million limit of the umbrella policy. Question 25. Flood insurance question. Which of the following is a typical limitation of the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) coverage for personal property? Options: A. Coverage for personal property outside the insured dwelling is limited to $500 per item. B. Coverage for personal property is provided on a replacement cost basis. C. Coverage for personal property is limited to the contents of the building, not including furnishings. D. Coverage for personal property is limited to a specific dollar amount per category of item. Correct answer: D. Coverage for personal property is limited to a specific dollar amount per category of item. Explanation: under the NFIP, coverage for personal property is subject to specific limits per category of item, such as furniture or electronics, with total coverage limits for personal property outlined in the policy. This differs from replacement cost coverage, which is not provided under NFIP for personal property. Instead, it typically provides actual cash value (SCV) coverage. Coverage for personal property outside the insured dwelling, like furnishings in a garage, may be limited or excluded. Question 26. Personal auto policy PAP question. Which of the following is a common exclusion under the personal auto policy PAP for coverage for damage to your auto? Options: A. Damage caused by a covered peril while the vehicle is parked. B. Damage to a vehicle used for commercial purposes. C. Damage to the vehicle due to a collision with an uninsured motorist. D. Damage to the vehicle caused by theft. Correct answer: B. Damage to a vehicle used for commercial purposes. Explanation: the personal auto policy PAP typically excludes coverage for damage to vehicles used for commercial purposes under coverage for damage to your auto. This type of policy is designed for personal use only. Coverage for damage caused by theft or collisions, even with uninsured motorists, is generally included under comprehensive and collision coverage, respectively. However, if the vehicle is used for business or commercial purposes, this usage would require a commercial auto policy. Question 27. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. Davis's home is insured under an Idaho 3 homeowners policy. During a severe storm, a large tree falls on his detached garage, causing significant damage. What coverage would apply to repair the detached garage? Options: A. Personal property coverage. B. Dwelling coverage. C. Other structures coverage. D. Loss of use coverage. Correct answer: C. Other structures coverage. Explanation: the Idaho 3 homeowners policy includes other structures coverage, which covers damage to structures on the property that are not attached to the main dwelling, such as detached garages, sheds, and fences. Personal property coverage applies to belongings inside the home. Dwelling coverage pertains to the main structure of the house, and loss of use coverage provides for additional living expenses if the home becomes uninhabitable, none of which apply to the detached garage. Question 28. Dwelling policy DP question. Under Idaho broad form dwelling policy, which of the following perils is covered? Options: A. Earthquake. B. Flood. C. Vandalism and malicious mischief. D. Landslide. Correct answer. C. Vandalism and malicious mischief. Explanation. The D2 broad form dwelling policy covers a wider range of perils compared to the D1, including vandalism and malicious mischief. Earthquake, flood, and landslide are not covered under the D2 policy and require separate endorsements or policies for coverage. The D2 policy typically covers extended perils and broadens the coverage compared to the D1. Question 29. Personal umbrella policy scenario. MS. Garcia has a personal umbrella policy with a $1 million limit and a $500,000 self-insured retention if she is involved in a lawsuit with a judgment of $750,000 and her primary policies cover $250,000. What will her umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $250,000, B. $500,000, C. $750,000, D. $1 million. Correct answer: B. $500,000. Explanation. With a $500,000 self-insured retention, MS. And Garcia must cover this amount out of pocket before her umbrella policy provides coverage. Primary policies cover $250,000, leaving $500,000, $750,000, $250,000 to be covered by the umbrella policy subject to its limit. The umbrella policy will pay up to its limit of $1 million, but in this scenario it will cover the remaining $500,000. Question 30. Flood insurance question. Which of the following statements is true regarding coverage for personal property under a National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) policy? Options: A. Personal property coverage is available on a replacement cost basis for all types of property. B. Personal property coverage is only available for contents within the insured building, not for items stored in a basement. C. Personal property coverage includes items in the basement but excludes basement improvements. D. Personal property coverage includes all personal items regardless of their location within the home. Correct answer: B. Personal property coverage is only available for contents within the insured building, not for items stored in a basement. Explanation. Under the NFIP, personal property coverage is provided on an actual cash value basis, not replacement cost, and is generally limited to contents within the insured building, items stored in. A basement are typically excluded from coverage, although some contents in basements may be covered under specific circumstances. Coverage does not extend to improvements or items located outside the building. Question 31. Personal auto policy PAP question. In a personal auto policy PAP, if the insured's vehicle is damaged by hail while parked at home, which coverage would apply? Options: A. Liability coverage, B. Comprehensive coverage, C. Collision coverage, D. Uninsured motorist coverage. Correct answer: B. Comprehensive coverage. Explanation. Comprehensive coverage under personal auto policy covers damage to a vehicle caused by non-collision events such as hail, theft, vandalism, or natural disasters. Since hail damage is not related to a collision, comprehensive coverage would apply. Liability coverage is for damage to others caused by the insured. Collision coverage is for damage from a collision with another vehicle or object, and uninsured motorist coverage protects against damages caused by uninsured drivers. Question 32. Homeowners insurance scenario. The Martinez family's home is insured with an Hothry policy. If their home sustains damage due to a sinkhole, which coverage would be necessary to address this issue? Options: A. Dwelling coverage, B. Earthquake coverage, C. Sinkhole coverage, D. Personal property coverage. Correct answer: C. Sinkhole coverage. Explanation. Standard homeowners insurance policies, including Hothry, typically exclude coverage for sinkholes. Sinkhole coverage, which is a separate endorsement or policy, would be required to cover damage from sinkholes. Dwelling coverage under an Hothry policy provides protection for the home structure but does not include sinkholes. Earthquake coverage is also separate and does not cover sinkholes. Personal property coverage pertains to contents inside the home, not structural issues like sinkholes. Question 33. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following is an example of an endorsement that can be added to a E3 special dwelling policy to extend coverage? Options: A. Earthquake endorsement, B. Theft endorsement, C. Flood endorsement, D. All of the above. Correct answer: D. All of the above. Explanation. The DEPA 3 special dwelling policy can be extended with various endorsements to cover additional risks such as earthquakes, theft, and floods. These endorsements modify the standard policy to include coverage for these perils, which are not typically included in the base DEPA 3 policy. Earthquake, theft, and flood coverage are not included by default and must be added through endorsements. Question 34. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. Taylor is considering purchasing a personal umbrella policy. He has a liability limit of $300,000 on his homeowner's insurance and $100,000 on his auto insurance. What is the primary benefit of purchasing an umbrella policy? Options: A. It increases the liability limits on his homeowners and auto policies. B. It provides additional liability coverage beyond the limits of his primary policies. C. It covers all types of property damage including his own. D. It replaces his primary policies with a single comprehensive policy. Correct answer: B. It provides additional liability coverage beyond the limits of his primary policies. Explanation: a personal umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage above the limits of the insured's primary policies, homeowners, and auto. It is designed to protect against large liability claims that exceed the coverage limits of those primary policies. It does not increase the limits on the primary policies, but offers extra coverage in addition to what is provided by those policies. It also does not cover all types of property damage or replace the primary policies. Question 35. Flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which of the following is a typical coverage limitation for building property? Options: A. Coverage for contents located in the basement is included. B. Coverage for the foundation of the building is not included. C. Coverage for landscaping and outdoor property is included. D. Coverage for improvements made to the building is included. Correct answer: B. Coverage for the foundation of the building is not included. Explanation: under NFIP, coverage for building property typically excludes the foundation of the building, landscaping, and outdoor property. Coverage is generally provided for the structure itself, including walls and floors, but does not extend to the foundation or outdoor improvements like landscaping. Contents located in the basement may have limited coverage, and improvements to the building require separate endorsements or additional coverage. Question 36. Personal auto policy PAP question. Under the personal auto policy PAP, which coverage is specifically designed to pay for medical expenses incurred by the insured and passengers in the event of an auto accident, regardless of fault? Options: A. Liability coverage. B. Collision coverage. C. Medical payments coverage. D. Comprehensive coverage. Correct answer: C. Medical payments coverage. Explanation: medical payments coverage under personal auto policy pays for medical expenses incurred by the insured and passengers in the event of an accident, regardless of who is at fault. This coverage helps cover costs such as hospital bills and doctor visits. Liability coverage is for damages caused to others by the insured. Collision coverage covers damages to the insured's vehicle from a collision, and comprehensive coverage covers non-collision related damages. Question 37. Homeowners insurance scenario. The Thompson family has a HO5 homeowners policy. If their home sustains damage from a power surge due to a lightning strike, which type of coverage will apply? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Loss of use coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Earthquake coverage. Correct answer: A. Dwelling coverage. Explanation: an HO5 homeowners policy provides open peril coverage for both the dwelling and personal property. This means it covers all risks except those specifically excluded. Damage from a power surge due to a lightning strike would typically be covered under dwelling coverage as it affects the physical structure of the home. Loss of use coverage applies if the home is uninhabitable, and earthquake coverage requires a separate endorsement or policy. Question 38. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following is a key difference between the DEPA 2 broad form and DEPA 3 special form dwelling policies? Options: A. DEPA 2 covers a broader range of perils than DEPA 3. B. DEPA 3 provides open peril coverage for the dwelling. C. DEPA 2 excludes coverage for vandalism. D. DEPA 3 includes coverage for personal property, while DEPA 2 does not. Correct answer: B. DEPA 3 provides open peril coverage for the dwelling. Explanation: the key difference between DEPA 2 and DEPA 3 is that the DEPA 3 special form provides open peril coverage for the dwelling, meaning it covers all risks except those specifically excluded. In contrast, The deeper two broad form includes named perils but does not provide open peril coverage. Vandalism is typically covered under deeper two, and personal property is covered under neither unless specifically endorsed. Question 39. Personal umbrella policy scenario. If a personal umbrella policy has a $250,000 self-insured retention and the insured is involved in a liability claim where their primary auto and homeowners insurance policies cover $400,000, how much would the umbrella policy contribute if the total claim amount is $700,000? Options: A. $300,000, B. $450,000, C. $500,000, D. $700,000. Correct answer: A. $300,000. Explanation: with a $250,000 self-insured retention, the insured must cover this amount before the umbrella policy kicks in. Since the primary policies cover $400,000, the amount above this coverage but below the umbrella limit would be $700,000. $400,000 equals $300,000. Thus, the umbrella policy would contribute $300,000 towards the remaining claim amount. Question 40. Flood insurance question. Which of the following statements is true about the increased cost of compliance like coverage under the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP)? Options: A. ICC coverage provides funds to repair or replace a damaged building to meet current building codes. B. ICC coverage is included automatically in all NFIP policies without additional premium. C. ICC coverage is designed to cover the cost of temporary relocation during flood damage repairs. D. ICC coverage applies only to damage resulting from a named storm. Correct answer: A. ICC coverage provides funds to repair or replace a damaged building to meet current building codes. Explanation: increased cost of compliance like coverage under the NFIP provides funds to help repair or replace a damaged building to comply with current building codes and standards. This coverage is not included automatically and may require additional premiums or specific endorsements. It does not cover temporary relocation or apply only to named storms. It specifically addresses compliance with building codes following flood damage. Question 41. Personal auto policy PAP question. If an insured's vehicle is damaged by a hit-and-run driver, which coverage under the personal auto policy PAP would apply if the hit-and-run driver is never identified? Options: A. Collision coverage, B. Liability coverage, C. Comprehensive coverage, D. Uninsured motorist property damage coverage. Correct answer: D. Uninsured motorist property damage coverage. Explanation: if the insured's vehicle is damaged by a hit-and-run driver and the responsible party is never identified, uninsured motorist property damage coverage can apply provided it is included in the policy. This coverage is designed to handle damages when the at-fault driver is uninsured or unidentified. Collision coverage might apply if the driver was known and the policy does not have uninsured motorist property damage coverage, but it's not specific to hit-and-run scenarios. Comprehensive coverage addresses non-collision related damages, and liability coverage is for damages caused by the insured to others. Question 42. Homeowners insurance question. Which of the following scenarios would typically be excluded under a standard HO3 homeowners policy? Options: A. Damage to the home caused by a burst water pipe, B. Loss of personal property due to theft, C. Damage from an intentional act of arson, D. Damage from a fire caused by lightning. Correct answer: C. Damage from an intentional act of arson. Explanation: a standard HO3 homeowners policy generally excludes coverage for damage resulting from intentional acts, such as arson, while it covers damage from perils such as burst water pipes, theft of personal property, and fires caused by lightning. Intentional damage by the insured is excluded. The policy provides open peril coverage for the dwelling and named peril coverage for personal property. Question 43. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following endorsements is commonly added to EON basic form dwelling policy to provide coverage for theft? Options: A. Theft endorsement, B. Flood endorsement, C. Earthquake endorsement, D. Vandalism and malicious mischief endorsement. Correct answer: A. Theft endorsement. Explanation: a theft endorsement can be added to a EON basic form dwelling policy to extend coverage for theft, as theft is not included in the base policy. The flood endorsement and earthquake endorsement address different types of risks and would not cover theft. The vandalism and malicious mischief endorsement might be included in some policies, but does not typically extend to theft. Question 44. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. Green's personal umbrella policy has a $500,000 limit and a $250,000 self-insured retention. If Mr. Green is involved in a lawsuit with a total judgment of $600,000 and his primary insurance policies cover $200,000, how much will his umbrella policy contribute? Options: A. $200,000, B. $350,000, C. $400,000, D. $500,000. Correct answer: B. $350,000. Explanation: with a $250,000 self-insured retention, Mr. Green must cover this amount before the umbrella policy provides coverage. His primary policies cover $200,000, which leaves $600,000. $200,000 equals $400,000 to be covered by the umbrella policy. However, the umbrella policy will only contribute up to its limit of $500,000 minus the self-insured retention. Therefore, it would cover $400,000. $250,000 all equals $350,000. Question 45. Flood insurance question. Which of the following items is typically not covered under the National Flood Insurance Program NFIP? For personal property, options: A. Personal documents and photographs, B. Furniture and appliances, C. Carpeting and flooring, D. Outdoor property like decks and fences. Correct answer: D. Outdoor property like decks and fences. Explanation: the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) provides coverage for personal property such as furniture, appliances, and carpeting within the insured building, but does not cover outdoor property like decks, fences, or landscaping. Items like personal documents and photographs are included within the personal property coverage but are subject to certain limits. Outdoor property requires separate coverage or policies. Question 46. Personal auto policy PAP question. Under personal auto policy PAP, which of the following incidents would typically be covered under collision coverage? Options: A. The insured's vehicle is stolen from their driveway. B. The insured's vehicle hits the tree after skidding on ice. C. The insured's vehicle is damaged by falling debris during a storm. D. The insured's vehicle is vandalized while parked. Correct answer: B. The insured's vehicle hits the tree after skidding on ice. Explanation: collision coverage under a personal auto policy covers damage to the insured's vehicle resulting from a collision with another vehicle or object, such as a tree. Theft would be covered under comprehensive coverage, as would damage from falling debris and vandalism. Comprehensive coverage addresses non-collision related incidents, while collision coverage specifically addresses collisions. Question 47. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mrs. Jones has a Hawthorne Renters insurance policy. A fire in her apartment building forces her to live in a hotel for a month while repairs are made. Which coverage part of her policy will cover her additional living expenses? Options: A. Dwelling coverage, B. Loss of use coverage, C. Personal property coverage, D. Liability coverage. Correct answer: B. Loss of use coverage. Explanation: loss of use coverage under an Hawthorne Renters insurance policy provides for additional living expenses incurred when the insured's residence becomes uninhabitable due to a covered peril, such as fire. This coverage includes costs for temporary housing and other necessary expenses while repairs are made. Dwelling coverage and personal property coverage address the structure and contents, respectively, and liability coverage protects against claims of bodily injury or property damage caused by the insured. Question 48. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following is not typically covered under IUN basic form dwelling policy? Options: A. Fire, B. Lightning, C. Internal explosion, D. Water damage from flooding. Correct answer: D. Water damage from flooding. Explanation: The EON Basic Form Dwelling Policy covers a limited set of named perils, including fire, lightning, and internal explosion. Water damage from flooding is not typically covered under a EON policy and would require separate flood insurance. Flooding is considered a catastrophic event that is excluded from most standard property insurance policies. Question 49. Personal Umbrella Policy Scenario, MS. Parker has a personal umbrella policy with a $1 million limit. She is found liable for a car accident resulting in $900,000 in damages. Her auto insurance policy has a liability limit of $300,000. How much will her umbrella policy cover? Options: A. $300,000, B. $600,000, C. $900,000, D. $1 million. Correct answer: B. $600,000. Explanation: MS. Parker's auto insurance policy covers the first $300,000 of the liability claim. The remaining $600,000, $900,000, $300,000 would be covered by her personal umbrella policy. An umbrella policy provides excess liability coverage above the limits of the insured's primary policies, covering large claims that exceed those primary limits. Question 50. Flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which of the following is true regarding the waiting period for a new flood insurance policy to take effect? Options: A. There is no waiting period. Coverage is immediate upon policy issuance. B. There is a 10-day waiting period. C. There is a 30-day waiting period. D. The waiting period varies by state. Correct answer: C. There is a 30-day waiting period. Explanation: the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, typically imposes a 30-day waiting period from the date of policy purchase before the coverage takes effect. This waiting period is intended to prevent individuals from purchasing flood insurance only when an imminent threat of flooding exists. There are exceptions to this waiting period, such as when a policy is required by a lender for a new mortgage. Question 51. Personal auto policy PAP question. Which of the following perils is covered under comprehensive coverage of a personal auto policy PAP? Options: A. The insured's vehicle is damaged in a collision with another car. B. The insured's vehicle is stolen from a parking lot. C. The insured's vehicle hits a deer on the highway. D. The insured's vehicle is damaged by hail. Correct answer: D. The insured's vehicle is damaged by hail. Explanation: comprehensive coverage under a personal auto policy covers damage to the insured's vehicle from non-collision related perils such as theft, natural disasters, falling objects, and vandalism. Hail damage is a typical example of a covered peril under comprehensive coverage. Collision with another car would be covered under collision coverage. Theft is also covered under comprehensive coverage, and hitting a deer is covered under comprehensive coverage. Question 52. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. Baker has an HO3 homeowners policy. If a windstorm causes a tree to fall on his detached garage, which coverage part of his policy will address this damage? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Other structures coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Loss of use coverage. Correct answer: B. Other structures coverage. Explanation: other structures coverage. Coverage B under an HO3 homeowners policy provides protection for structures on the property that are not attached to the main dwelling, such as a detached garage, shed, or fence. Dwelling coverage. Coverage A applies to the main residence personal property coverage. Coverage C covers the contents inside the home, and loss of use coverage. Coverage D provides for additional living expenses if the home becomes uninhabitable. Question 53. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following coverages is included in an E3 special form dwelling policy but not typically found in an EON basic form dwelling policy? Options: A. Fire and lightning. B. Internal explosion. C. Vandalism and malicious mischief. D. Theft of personal property. Correct answer: D. Theft of personal property. Explanation: a E3 special form dwelling policy offers broader coverage compared to a EON basic form. The deeper 3 policy provides open peril coverage for the dwelling, meaning it covers all risks except those specifically excluded. Theft of personal property is not typically covered under a EON policy without additional endorsements, whereas it can be included in a D3 policy depending on the specific terms. Fire and lightning, internal explosion, and vandalism and malicious mischief are generally covered under both DEPA 1 and DEPA 3 policies. Question 54. Personal umbrella policy scenario. MS. Lee has a personal umbrella policy with a $2 million limit and a $500,000 self-insured retention. If MS. Lee is liable for $1.5 million in damages from a lawsuit, and her primary insurance covers $500,000. How much will her umbrella policy pay? Options A. $1 million. B. $1.5 million. C. $2 million. D. $1 million minus the self-insured retention. Correct answer A. $1 million. Explanation. MS. Lee's primary insurance covers $500,000 of the $1.5 million liability claim. The remaining $1 million, $1.5 million, $500,000 would be covered by her personal umbrella policy. The self-insured retention typically applies when the primary insurance does not cover the loss, so in this case it does not reduce the amount the umbrella policy pays. The umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage beyond the limits of her primary insurance. Question 55. Flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which of the following is considered a covered loss? Options A. Water damage from a broken pipe inside the house. B. Water damage caused by sewer backup unless directly caused by flooding. C. Water damage from heavy rain entering through a roof leak. D. Water damage from a river overflowing and flooding the house. Correct answer D. Water damage from a river overflowing and flooding the house. Explanation. The National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, provides coverage for flood-related losses, which are defined as a general and temporary condition of partial or complete inundation of normally dry land areas from overflow of inland or tidal waters, unusual and rapid accumulation or runoff of surface waters or mudflows. Water damage from a river overflowing and flooding the house falls within this definition. Damage from a broken pipe, sewer backup, or heavy rain entering through a roof leak are typically not covered under NFIP, but may be covered under a standard homeowners policy or separate endorsements. Question 56. Personal auto policy PAP question. Which of the following is considered a non-standard exclusion under the comprehensive coverage of a personal auto policy PAP? Options A. Damage caused by theft. B. Damage caused by flood. C. Damage caused by wear and tear. D. Damage caused by vandalism. Correct answer C. Damage caused by wear and tear. Explanation. Comprehensive coverage under personal auto policy generally covers theft, flood, and vandalism. However, damage caused by wear and tear is a non-standard exclusion. Insurance policies are designed to cover sudden and accidental losses, not gradual deterioration from regular use. Question 57. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. and Mrs. Smith have a HO5 homeowners policy. While hosting a party, a guest accidentally knocks over a valuable vase worth $10,000. Which coverage part of their policy will address the loss of the vase? Options A. Dwelling coverage. B. Personal property coverage. C. Loss of use coverage. D. Liability coverage. Correct answer B. Personal property coverage. Explanation. Personal property coverage under an HO5 homeowners policy covers the loss of personal items such as furniture, electronics, and valuables. Since the vase is personal property, its loss due to an accident would be covered under this part of the policy. Dwelling coverage applies to the structure of the home. Loss of use coverage provides for additional living expenses, and liability coverage applies to claims for bodily injury or property damage the insured is legally obligated to pay. Question 58. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following additional coverages can be added to a deed to a broad form dwelling policy to provide protection against theft? Options A. Theft endorsement. B. Earthquake endorsement. C. Flood endorsement. D. Vandalism and malicious mischief endorsement. Correct answer A. Theft endorsement. Explanation. A theft endorsement can be added to a broad form dwelling policy to extend coverage for theft, as theft is not included in the base policy. The earthquake endorsement and flood endorsement address different types of risks and would not cover theft. The vandalism and malicious mischief endorsement provides coverage for damage caused by vandalism and malicious mischief, but not theft. Question 59. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. Thompson has a personal umbrella policy with a $3 million limit and a $1 million self-insured retention. if he is found liable for $2.5 million in damages from a lawsuit and his primary insurance covers $1 million, how much will his umbrella policy cover? Options: A. $1 million, B. $1.5 million, C. $2.5 million, D. $2 million minus the self-insured retention. Correct answer: B. $1.5 million. Explanation: Mr. Thompson's primary insurance covers $1 million of the $2.5 million liability claim. The remaining $1.5 million, $2.5 million, $1 million would be covered by his personal umbrella policy. The self-insured retention typically applies when the primary insurance does not cover the loss. So in this case, it does not reduce the amount the umbrella policy pays. The umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage beyond the limits of his primary insurance. Question 60, flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP), which of the following is a standard exclusion? Options: A. Damage caused by a sewer backup unless directly caused by flooding. B. Damage to the foundation caused by flood. C. Damage to personal property and abasement. D. Damage to a detached garage caused by flood. Correct answer: A. Damage caused by a sewer backup unless directly caused by flooding. Explanation: the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) excludes coverage for damage caused by sewer backup unless the backup is directly caused by flooding, while NFIP policies do cover flood damage to the foundation, personal property, though limited coverage applies to items in basements and detached garages. Damage from a sewer backup is specifically excluded unless linked to a covered flood event. Question 61. Personal auto policy PAP question. Under personal auto policy PAP, which of the following is not typically covered under medical payments coverage? Part B. Options: A. The insured's medical expenses after an accident. B. The insured's family members' medical expenses while riding in the insured vehicle. C. Medical expenses for a pedestrian struck by the insured vehicle. D. Medical expenses for injuries sustained while using the insured vehicle for a ride-sharing service. Correct answer: D. Medical expenses for injuries sustained while using the insured vehicle for a ride-sharing service. Explanation: medical payments coverage. Part B. Under personal auto policy generally covers medical expenses for the insured, their family members, and others injured while occupying the insured vehicle, as well as pedestrians struck by the insured vehicle. However, using the insured vehicle for a ride-sharing service like Uber or Lyft is typically excluded from standard personal auto policies unless a specific endorsement is added. Question 62. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson have an HO3 homeowners policy. During a severe storm, a large tree falls on their home, causing significant damage to the roof and an interior wall. Which part of their policy would cover the cost to remove the tree from their property? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Other structures coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Additional coverages. Correct answer: D. Additional coverages. Explanation: the cost to remove a tree that has fallen due to covered peril, such as a storm, is typically covered under the additional coverages section of an HO3 homeowners policy. Dwelling coverage would cover the repair of the damage to the home itself, but tree removal falls under the policy's additional provisions. This coverage often has specific limits, such as a maximum amount per tree and a total limit for tree removal expenses. Question 63. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following perils is covered under E2 broad form dwelling policy but not under EON basic form dwelling policy? Options: A. Fire. B. Lightning. C. Burglary. D. Falling objects. Correct answer: D. Falling objects. Explanation: a E2 abroad form dwelling policy covers a wider range of named perils compared to EON basic form. The deeper 2 includes coverage for perils such as falling objects, weight of ice, snow or sleet, an accidental discharge or overflow of water or steam, which are not covered under the deeper 1. Fire and lightning are covered under both deeper 1 and deeper 2, while burglary is typically not included in the base policies without additional endorsements. Question 64. Personal umbrella policy scenario. MS Johnson has a personal umbrella policy with a $1.5 million limit and a $300,000 self-insured retention. She is liable for $2 million in damages from a defamation lawsuit, and her homeowner's policy covers $300,000. How much will her umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $1.2 million, B. $1.5 million, C. $1.7 million, D. $2 million. Correct answer: A. $1.2 million. Explanation: MS Johnson's homeowners policy covers $300,000 of the $2 million liability claim. The remaining $1.7 million, $2 million, $300,000 is subject to her umbrella policy. Since she has a $300,000 self-insured retention, she must cover this amount before the umbrella policy pays. Therefore, the umbrella policy will pay $1.7 million. 300,000 all equals $1.2 million. Question 65. Flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program NFIP, which of the following is typically covered? Options: A. Damage to a basement's finished walls and floors. B. Loss of business income due to flooding. C. Damage to the building's foundation caused by flood. D. Personal property stored outside the building. Correct answer: C. Damage to the building's foundation caused by flood. Explanation: the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) covers structural damage to buildings caused by flooding, including the foundation. However, coverage for finished walls and floors in a basement is limited. The NFIP does not cover loss of business income or personal property stored outside the building. Coverage is primarily focused on direct physical damage to the insured property from flooding. Question 66. Personal auto policy PAP question. Which of the following is an example of a situation where uninsured motorist coverage, Part C, under personal auto policy PAP would apply? Options: The insured is involved in an accident with a driver who has insurance but not enough to cover the full extent of the damages. B. The insured's car is stolen from a parking lot. C. The insured is hit by a driver who has no insurance at all. D. The insured's car is damaged by hail. Correct answer: C. The insured is hit by a driver who has no insurance at all. Explanation: uninsured motorist coverage, Part C, provides protection for the insured in the event they are involved in an accident with a driver who does not have any insurance. Option A describes a situation that would be covered by underinsured motorist coverage. Theft is covered under comprehensive coverage, and hail damage is also covered under comprehensive coverage. Question 67. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. Lopez has an Hawthorne renter's insurance policy. During a break-in, his laptop and other electronics are stolen. Which coverage part of his policy would address this loss? Options: A. Dwelling coverage, B. Other structures coverage, C. Personal property coverage, D. Liability coverage. Correct answer: C. Personal property coverage. Explanation: a Hawthorne renter's insurance policy primarily covers personal property of the insured. Personal property coverage will reimburse Mr. Lopez for the stolen laptop and electronics. Dwelling coverage and other structures coverage are not applicable in a renter's policy, as these typically apply to homeowners' policies. Liability coverage applies to claims against the insured for bodily injury or property damage to others. Question 68. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following best describes a EON basic form dwelling policy? Options: A. It covers all risks except those specifically excluded. B. It covers only a limited number of named perils. C. It provides replacement cost coverage for the dwelling. D. It includes liability coverage for the insured. Correct answer: B. It covers only a limited number of named perils. Explanation: a EON basic form dwelling policy covers only a limited number of named perils, such as fire, lightning, and internal explosion. It does not cover all risks or provide open peril coverage. Replacement cost coverage for the dwelling and liability coverage are not standard features of the D1. They may be added by endorsement. Question 69. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. White has a personal umbrella policy with a $5 million limit and a $1 million self-insured retention. If he is found liable for $4 million in damages from a lawsuit and his primary insurance covers $1 million, how much will his umbrella policy cover? Options: A. $2 million, B. $3 million, C. $4 million, D. $5 million. Correct answer: B. $3 million. Explanation: Mr. White's primary insurance covers $1 million of the $4 million liability claim. The remaining $3 million, $4 million, $1 million would be covered by his personal umbrella policy. The self-insured retention applies when the primary insurance does not cover the loss, so it does not reduce the amount the umbrella policy pays in this scenario. Question 70. Flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which of the following is considered a covered loss? Options: A. Water damage from a broken water heater inside the house. B. Water damage caused by a sewer backup unless directly caused by flooding. C. Water damage from heavy rain entering through a roof leak. D. Water damage from a river overflowing and flooding the house. Correct answer: D. Water damage from a river overflowing and flooding the house. Explanation: the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) covers flood-related losses, which include damage caused by the overflow of inland or tidal waters, unusual and rapid accumulation or runoff of surface waters or mudflows. Damage from a river overflowing and flooding the house falls within this definition. Damage from a broken water heater, sewer backup, unless directly caused by flooding, and roof leaks from heavy rain are not covered under NFIP policies but might be covered under a standard homeowners policy. Question 71. Personal auto policy PAP question. In a personal auto policy PAP, which of the following scenarios would be covered under uninsured motorist property damage UMP? Options: A. The insured's car is hit by a driver who has insurance but not enough to cover the damages. B. The insured's car is stolen from a parking lot. C. The insured's car is hit by a driver who has no insurance and the insured does not have collision coverage. D. The insured's car is damaged by a falling tree branch. Correct answer: C. The insured's car is hit by a driver who has no insurance and the insured does not have collision coverage. Explanation: uninsured motorist property damage UMT provides coverage for the insured's vehicle when it is damaged by an uninsured driver. This coverage is particularly useful when the insured does not have collision coverage. The other options either involve insured drivers, theft, which is covered under comprehensive coverage, or non-collision damage, such as a falling tree branch. Question 72. Homeowners insurance scenario, MS. Green has a Hosix condominium owner's policy. A fire causes significant damage to her unit's interior, including built-in appliances and flooring. Which part of her policy will cover these damages? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Other structures coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Loss of use coverage. Correct answer: A. Dwelling coverage. Explanation: for an Hosix condominium owner's policy, dwelling coverage typically applies to the interior structure of the unit, including built-in appliances, fixtures, and flooring. This coverage would address the damage caused by the fire. Personal property coverage would cover movable items within the unit, while loss of use coverage provides for additional living expenses if the unit becomes uninhabitable due to a covered loss. Question 73. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following is NOT typically covered under the E3 special form dwelling policy? Options: A. Fire and lightning. B. Vandalism and malicious mischief. C. Earthquake. D. Theft of personal property. Correct answer: C. Earthquake. Explanation: the D3 special form dwelling policy provides coverage on an open peril basis for the dwelling, covering all perils except those specifically excluded. Fire and lightning, vandalism, and theft of personal property are typically covered, while earthquake damage is not covered under standard dwelling policies and requires a separate endorsement or policy. Question 74. Personal umbrella policy scenario, MS. Lewis has a personal umbrella policy with a $2 million limit. She is found liable for $1.5 million in damages from a car accident, and her auto policy covers $300,000. She also has a self-insured retention of $50,000. How much will her umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $1.2 million. B. $1.45 million. C. $1.5 million. D. $1.7 million. Correct answer: A. $1.2 million. Explanation: MS. Lewis's auto policy covers $300,000 of the $1.5 million liability claim. The remaining $1.2 million, $1.5 million, $300,000 is subject to her umbrella policy. The self-insured retention of $50,000 applies if there is no underlying insurance, which is not the case here, so the umbrella policy covers the remaining $1.2 million. Question 75. Flood insurance question. under the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP), which of the following items is typically covered in a basement? Options: A. Finished walls and floors. B. Personal property stored in the basement. C. Foundation elements and utility connections. D. Furniture and electronics. Correct answer: C. Foundation elements and utility connections. Explanation: the NFIP provides limited coverage for basements, typically covering structural elements and essential utility connections, such as furnaces, water heaters, and electrical panels. Finished walls, floors, personal property, and furniture or electronics in basements are generally not covered under NFIP policies. Question 76. Personal auto policy PAP question: which of the following losses would NOT be covered under the liability coverage? Part A of a personal auto policy PAP. Options: A. Bodily injury to a pedestrian caused by the insured's vehicle. B. Property damage to another vehicle in a collision caused by the insured. C. Legal fees incurred by the insured in a lawsuit related to a covered accident. D. Physical damage to the insured's own vehicle in a collision. Correct answer: D. Physical damage to the insured's own vehicle in a collision. Explanation: liability coverage Part A in a personal auto policy covers bodily injury and property damage for which the insured is legally responsible. It also covers legal fees incurred by the insured in a lawsuit related to a covered accident. However, it does not cover physical damage to the insured's own vehicle. Such damage would be covered under collision coverage. Part D. Question 77. Homeowners insurance scenario. Mr. Davis has an HO3 homeowners policy. During a windstorm, a large tree falls and damages his detached garage. Which part of his policy would cover the repairs to the detached garage? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Other structures coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Loss of use coverage. Correct answer: B. Other structures coverage. Explanation: other structures coverage under a HO3 homeowners policy provides coverage for structures on the property that are not attached to the main dwelling, such as detached garages, sheds, and fences. Dwelling coverage applies to the main residence. Personal property coverage applies to the contents of the home, and loss of use coverage provides additional living expenses if the home becomes uninhabitable. Question 78. Dwelling policy DP question. Under E3 special form dwelling policy, which of the following perils would typically be covered? Options: A. Earthquake. B. Nuclear hazard. C. Fire. D. War. Correct answer: C. Fire. Explanation: a E3 special form dwelling policy covers the dwelling against all risks except those specifically excluded. Fire is a covered peril under this policy. Earthquake and nuclear hazard are typically excluded perils that require separate coverage. War is also an excluded peril. Question 79. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. Johnson has a personal umbrella policy with a $3 million limit and a self-insured retention of $100,000. He is found liable for $3.2 million in damages from a personal injury lawsuit, and his primary insurance covers $500,000. How much will his umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $2.6 million. B. $2.7 million. C. $3 million. D. $3.2 million. Correct answer: A. $2.6 million. Explanation: Mr. Johnson's primary insurance covers $500,000 of the $3.2 million liability claim. The remaining $2.7 million, $3.2 million. $500,000 is subject to his umbrella policy. Since he has a self-insured retention of $100,000, he must cover this amount before the umbrella policy pays. Therefore, the umbrella policy will pay $2.7 million. 100,000 equals $0.6 million. Question 80. Flood insurance question. Which of the following is NOT covered under the National Flood Insurance Program and FIP? Options: A. Damage to the building structure caused by flood. B. Damage to personal property stored in the basement. C. Flood-related debris removal. D. Flood damage to a detached garage. Correct answer: B. Damage to personal property stored in the basement. Explanation: the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) covers damage to the building structure, flood-related debris removal, and flood damage to detached structures like garages. However, it provides very limited coverage for personal property stored in the basement. Coverage is mainly focused on essential structural and utility elements in basements. Question 81. Personal auto policy PAP question. Which of the following is covered under the comprehensive coverage, Part D of a personal auto policy? Options: A. Damage to the insured's car from a collision with another vehicle. B. Damage to the insured's car from hitting a deer. C. Damage to another vehicle caused by the insured. D. Medical expenses for the insured after an accident. Correct answer: B. Damage to the insured's car from hitting a deer. Explanation: Comprehensive coverage, Part D, in a personal auto policy covers damages to the insured's vehicle from non-collision events, such as theft, fire, vandalism, and hitting an animal like a deer. Collision coverage, also Part D, would cover damage from a collision with another vehicle. Liability coverage would cover damage to another vehicle caused by the insured, and medical payments coverage would cover medical expenses for the insured. Question 82. Homeowners insurance scenario, MS. Carter has a HO5 homeowners policy. A water pipe bursts, causing significant damage to her finished basement, including personal property and structural components. Which coverage parts of her policy would address these damages? Options: A. Dwelling coverage and personal property coverage. B. Dwelling coverage and loss of use coverage. C. Personal property coverage and loss of use coverage. D. Other structures coverage and personal property coverage. Correct answer: A. Dwelling coverage and personal property coverage. Explanation: An HO5 homeowners policy provides comprehensive coverage for both the dwelling and personal property on an open peril basis, meaning it covers all risks except those specifically excluded. Damage to the structural components of the finished basement would be covered under dwelling coverage, and damage to personal property would be covered under personal property coverage. Loss of use coverage would apply if the home became uninhabitable, but it does not address the physical damage itself. Question 83. Dwelling policy DP question. Which of the following best describes a E3 special form dwelling policy compared to EON basic form dwelling policy? Options: A. DPA 3 covers all risks except those specifically excluded. EON covers only named perils. B. DIA 3 covers named perils only. EON covers all risks except those specifically excluded. C. DIA 3 provides actual cash value coverage. EON provides replacement cost coverage. D. DIA 3 includes liability coverage. EON does not. Correct answer: A. DPA 3 covers all risks except those specifically excluded. EON covers only named perils. Explanation: A E3 special form dwelling policy provides coverage on an open peril basis, meaning it covers all risks except those specifically excluded, while a EON basic form dwelling policy provides coverage only for a limited number of named perils. Both DPA 1 and DPA 3 can provide actual cash value or replacement cost coverage depending on the specific terms of the policy, and liability coverage is not included in standard dwelling policies unless added by endorsement. Question 84. Personal umbrella policy scenario, MS. Taylor has a personal umbrella policy with a $1 million limit and a self-insured retention of $50,000. She is found liable for $1.2 million in damages from a personal injury lawsuit, and her primary insurance covers $250,000. How much will her umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $950,000. B. $1 million. C. $1.15 million. D. $1.2 million. Correct answer: A. $950,000. Explanation: MS. Taylor's primary insurance covers $250,000 of the $1.2 million liability claim. The remaining $950,000, $1.2 million. $250,000 would be covered by her umbrella policy. The self-insured retention of $50,000 applies if there is no underlying insurance, which is not the case here, so the umbrella policy covers the remaining $950,000. Question 85. Flood insurance question. Under the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP), which of the following is considered an exclusion? Options: A. Damage caused by flood waters entering through a window. B. Damage to personal property located in the basement. C. Flood-related debris removal. D. Damage to the building's electrical system caused by flood. Correct answer: B. Damage to personal property located in the basement. Explanation: The NFIP provides limited coverage for personal property located in basements, typically excluding such items from coverage. The program focuses on structural elements and essential systems in basements, flood waters entering through, a window flood-related debris removal, and damage to the building's electrical system caused by flood are covered under the NFIP. Question 86. Personal Auto Policy PAP question. Which of the following would be covered under the medical payments coverage, Part B of a personal auto policy PAP? Options: A. The insured is injured while riding as a passenger in a friend's car. B. A pedestrian is injured by the insured's car and sues for medical expenses. C. The insured's car is damaged in a hit-and-run accident. D. Legal defense costs incurred by the insured in a liability lawsuit. Correct answer: A. The insured is injured while riding as a passenger in a friend's car. Explanation: medical payments coverage, Part B, in a personal auto policy covers medical expenses for the insured and passengers in the insured's vehicle regardless of fault. It also covers the insured if they are injured while riding as a passenger in another car. Coverage B does not cover third-party medical expenses covered under liability coverage, vehicle damage, or legal defense costs. Question 87. Homeowners insurance scenario. Ms. Brown has an Hawthorne renters insurance policy. Her apartment is damaged by a fire and she needs to live elsewhere temporarily. Which part of her policy will help cover her additional living expenses? Options: A. Dwelling coverage. B. Personal property coverage. C. Loss of use coverage. D. Liability coverage. Correct answer: C. Loss of use coverage. Explanation: loss of use coverage under an Hawthorne renters insurance policy covers additional living expenses incurred when the insured's rental unit becomes uninhabitable due to a covered peril, such as a fire. This coverage helps pay for temporary housing and other related expenses. Dwelling coverage is not applicable to renters. Personal property coverage applies to belongings, and liability coverage addresses third-party claims. Question 88. Dwelling policy DP Question. Under Idaho broad form dwelling policy, which of the following perils is covered? Options: A. War. B. Nuclear hazard. C. Freezing of plumbing. D. Earthquake. Correct answer: C. Freezing of plumbing. Explanation: Idaho broad form dwelling policy provides named peril coverage, including perils such as fire, lightning, windstorm, hail, explosion, and freezing of plumbing. If reasonable care is taken to maintain heat or shut off the water supply, war, nuclear hazard, and earthquake are excluded perils and require separate coverage or endorsements. Question 89. Personal umbrella policy scenario. Mr. Wilson has a personal umbrella policy with a $2 million limit and a self-insured retention of $75,000. He is found liable for $2.5 million in damages from an accident, and his primary insurance covers $500,000. How much will his umbrella policy pay? Options: A. $1.925 million. B. $2 million. C. $2.425 million. D. $2.5 million. Correct answer: A. $1.925 million. Explanation: Mr. Wilson's primary insurance covers $500,000 of the $2.5 million liability claim. The remaining $2 million, $2.5 million. $500,000 is subject to his umbrella policy. With a self-insured retention of $75,000, Mr. Wilson must pay this amount out of pocket before the umbrella policy coverage applies. Therefore, the umbrella policy will pay $2 million. $75,000 equals $1.925 million. Question 90. Flood insurance question. Which of the following items would typically be covered under a National Flood Insurance Program NFIP policy? Options: A. Personal belongings stored in the basement. B. Finished basement walls and floors. C. Detached garage damaged by flood waters. D. Loss of income due to business interruption. Correct answer: C. Detached garage damaged by flood waters. Explanation: the NFIP provides coverage for flood damage to detached structures, such as garages that are on the same premises as the insured building. Personal belongings stored in the basement and finished basement walls and floors typically have limited or no coverage under NFIP policies. Loss of income due to business interruption is not covered under standard NFIP policies, which are focused on residential properties.